Yeah, what up? What up? Boxing Basement, the Triple B. Yeah, I just did a video on what's going on with the heavyweight championship and, blah, blah, blah. Usyk, Itauma, Dubois, Joseph Parker, Justice Hooney. What's happening to the WBO? Who's getting stripped? Who's fighting who? Well, so what's that video? It's got a nice intro as well from Queen Elizabeth II. But yeah, so, okay, I'll tell you what. What's interesting, so this is the Sun news. The Sun is still the biggest selling newspaper in the UK. The scum, the Sun, yeah, which basically was the same as the News of the World on Sunday. They got banned for hacking people's phones, or they closed it down rather. Didn't get banned, they closed it down. These newspapers, the scum and the News of the World, were the most disreputable tabloids. I read a good book about it by Graham Johnson called Hack, and they just used to make stuff up and admit it, and go for people and torture them mentally. Horrible paper. Anyway, it's still the best-selling paper, unfortunately. But, look, check this out. Scroll down the page. Let's have a look. So you scroll down, there's Bread and Circus, there's Nutting Stories, there's a number 33 again, and then we get to this. So a third of the way down the paper, the front page of the website, right? And it's rare for a sports item will appear on the top pages if it's a massive sports item, right? On the top third of the page. Obviously anything to do with football or some big football story or whatever, blah blah. But this is just random, yeah. 1/3 down the page, the home page, there's this documentary. It's more or less the equivalent of being, in the front third of the newspaper, the old paper newspaper. Things are different now of the internet, but it's not in the sports section. It's not in the sports section where you'd expect a boxing story to be. No. It's in the normal kind of area of the paper, and it's this 50-minute documentary on Moses Itauma. So what does that tell us? Well, obviously fish eyes and people have got a lot of clout with the papers, but it's got to be more than that. Itauma's not a big name yet. He is in boxing, as maybe the world's brightest prospect. They claim he's 20, and they go on about him. Oh, he's going to beat Mike Tyson's record as the youngest heavyweight. Oh, it's so boring. It's got to be done before May the 19th. Okay, now remember that. This is why it's important, right? Because in this little documentary, they say that something's been lined up big for May. Now, if it was just another fight, okay? Remember my last video, if you watched it, I said if they could get Itauma a fight against Usyk, right, it would be almost a no-lose situation, because if he comes up short, right, you could say, well, I fought the best in the world, one of the best ever. When I was 20, I've only had 23 pro rounds. And people would be like, yeah, fair enough. And he can come back again. And Usyk's not a destructive puncher. It's not like getting ironed out, by, I don't know, Daniel Dubum or... I'd probably fancy Itauma against Dubum, at least the old Dubum. I don't know about this Dubum, the PED Dubum. But, Joseph Parker suddenly looks super violent and big. Something like getting ironed out by an experienced, big, aggressive, violent heavyweight is not what you want for Itauma, because he's a golden goose. He's the future of Queensberry. And they know it. They've got most of the decent heavyweights. They've got by far the best stable of heavyweights, probably in the world, right? No, surely in the world. And so why are they suddenly putting out this documentary, a 50-minute documentary on Itauma, and it goes on about press conferences and all this kind of stuff, and yeah, he wants to be the youngest fighter before Mike Tyson, and then it sort of hints, it says there will be an announcement about something big in May. Well, what will be big? Well, the only thing that will be big is a heavyweight championship fight. So there's 3 names out there. Okay, Usyk, would be my choice because Usyk's looking for a fight, right? And, Itauma, Usyk would be a massive stadium fight in the UK. Usyk's well known because of beating Gay up twice and Tyson Fury. Okay, and he's known as one of the best. Itauma is now getting, big, he's getting big props, but, in the scum he's been shown there, in a big little documentary, basically on their front, the front half, the front third of their website. Not even in the sports pages. So it could be Usyk, it could be Parker for the WO title. I would say, if I was Itauma's manager, and Fish Eyes is very experienced, that's not a fight they'd want to take. Parker, he's vulnerable. He's been knocked out by Joyce. He's been put over by Chisora, Dillian White, Jilei Zhang twice. Yeah, but he did look very violent and very big in his last fight. I mean, he earned out Bakoli. I know Bakoli hadn't been in the ring for 9 months, but still, there was something very violent about that fight, quite frightening. And Dubum, that's a possibility. I mean, the thing is, Fish Eyes has got Dubum as well. Fish Eyes owns Dubum, which would make the fight very easy to make, by the way. Sometimes you have to put two guys, right, in your stable together. If it's going to make big money, Daniel Dubois is well known because of battering Anthony Joshua. And then you could say it's a can't-lose situation for Fish Eyes. He ends up with the heavyweight champion, Dubum or Itauma. But obviously, they're both youngish. Dubum is like 26, I think. Itauma's allegedly 20. I can't believe it. His hairline sort of basically receding, right? He looks about 30 plus. He's born in Slovakia, so who knows if they've been truthful about his birth date. But I don't know, man. I mean, who knows? But yeah, so is there about to be an announcement for a May fight between Moses Itauma and Usyk, or Jose Parker, or Dubois? I'm thinking it won't be Parker. I'm thinking it's got to be Usyk or Dubum. It's just very odd to have such a big piece out there in such a prominent place of the most prominent newspaper, the scum out there, for a guy who's not well known outside of hardcore boxing fans. You know what I'm saying? To put out a little 50-minute documentary is quite interesting. And to mention there'll be some big announcement about a fight in May. And I hope so. I hope either Usyk or Dubum. That would be pretty awesome. He's only had 23 rounds, Itauma. He's only gone 6 rounds twice. 7 of his 11 fights are KOs in a round. But when there's enough money, you can put it on. And I'm thinking, if from a management position, I would go for Usyk if I had to choose. Because he's not a big puncher. He's unlikely to knock out Itauma. He might stop him late. He might outpoint him. But also, Usyk is 38. At some point, he will have to come apart. He'll probably be outweighed by 25 pounds. So it'll be interesting. There's one more thing, however, right? Look at this clip right here.
We can go over what the potential talking points will be tomorrow.
When it comes down to opponents and titles and things, you should say you want the most career-defining fights. No sidesteps, everything has to be a positive move forward. And that might sound quite generic, but at the moment, there isn't anything specific to go off. You're not shaped like that to go and call people out. But when you start mentioning other people's names, you're either elevating them or making the fight harder to make.
I think some of the other things that you'll be asked about, like Usyk has made such a point about how he believes you'll succeed him as the future heavyweight king, how it feels to be compared to British great Lennox Lewis. I'll send these over to you just so you can have a think about what your answers might be.
But the idea is to get this out the way tomorrow so that you're not being pestered for the next 6 weeks. You just focus solely on the fight. Sounds good.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right. Look at this clip. Okay? Anyway, they're talking about they talked about, press, you're going to do press and this, that, and the other, and they're going to ask you these kind of questions. They're prepping him for a press conference. But this was filmed very recently, by the way. It's not an old one. But then look at his hands. His hands are covered with typical HGH, micro, what's it called? Let me have a look again. Sorry, acromegaly, right? Which is when you have these weird bone growths or skin growths around your joints. They can be caused by pituitary gland problems or HGH. It's a very clear sign of HGH. Now people just go, Normie's going to, he's got all those little marks on his knuckles because he hit so hard and he's constantly rubbing his hands. Yeah, well, why are they not red then? They wouldn't be white, would they? Why are they not red? Also, it's not just on his knuckles, is it? I mean, not there are different parts of the knuckles, right? The off knuckles, I don't know if that's what you call them. The knuckles you hit with. So that's where you would have the abrasions, right? But he's got them on his middle knuckles, on the fingers. You don't hit with that part of the glove. Yeah? You don't hit with that part of the glove. And if his hands have been wrapped properly, you would not get abrasions. The boxer's hands are his life, or his money earner, right? So if he's getting those abrasions all over his hands, then his hands are not being wrapped properly. And he certainly would not have those marks on his middle knuckles. So I think they put the buck on HGH, and that's probably why he's grown from being, he's grown so quickly into this great man's body, plus losing his hair already, even though he's only 20, allegedly. It's very interesting, very interesting.